Hey, listen, we have a great group of folks today. I am absolutely excited. Thank you so much for your time. Again, I am Sarah Nagel. I am going to be leading your demonstration today. If you were looking for Stephanie, goodness gracious, I would be too. She's wonderful. She actually is dealing with some power outages down in Texas, dealing with the hurricane down there. So I got big shoes to fill, but I am confident that we can do that today. But what are we going to do today? Well, today we're going to talk about moving and transforming services with the CaseWorthy application. And I'm going to start today by talking to you a little bit about who CaseWorthy is. And then I'm going to spend the majority of my presentation showing you around some of the key features and functionalities within the system. If you have a question, do not hesitate. Write them in the chat box. And we will let time at the end for questions, or I'll try to answer them if I see them as they come around today. But do ask those great questions. Your sales representative will be reaching out to as well. So if you have questions there, they would be another good resource for you. But again, really appreciate your time. I know you are busy folks, and we have folks that are current customers. We have folks that have different products on our in our wheelhouse here at CaseWorthy team, and it's just going to be a great demo. So, all right, let's get going. Now, CaseWorthy as a company, right? The CaseWorthy as a company is has a couple of products under their under our umbrella. Now, you might be one of these customers, right? Now, today we're going to focus on our CaseWorthy product. This is kind of our flagship case management tool. However, we also have tools for our Serve Tracker product. This is going to be like your home delivered meals, your home care, your senior services, all of those important things that are allowing individuals to be able to maintain and age in home. So we're really excited about the work of our customers in the Serve Tracker application. And same with Medicare Connect. Connect is going to be for your intellectual disabilities, your waiver eligibility services. Those folks also have an option here. So all of this together, and CaseWorthy does work in coordination as one database with all these different products, so that you can have one centralized system for all your data, as well as being able to grow. So if you are currently a Serve Tracker customer thinking about adding on that CaseWorthy case management system, that's absolutely something that we would love to talk to you about. If you want to invest more time, energy into providing that one-on-one case management with your current service recipients, we are so excited to be able to talk to you about that today. But again, today, focus is just going to be on that case management piece with the CaseWorthy application. So why CaseWorthy? Like, why are we in the industry? What are we here? Well, lots of things. Obviously, I'm going to tell you that. But one of the things I want to start talking to you about is our out-of-the-box functionality. So we have years and years experience in working with organizations like yours. And so we have created what we call a baseline product. And that's a starting place. And from there, we can tweak and change to make your service delivery model fit in our database, so that we are supporting you in meeting your expectations for service delivery with minimal customizations or configuration needs. Again, that goes with the industry best flexibility. So what does that mean? That's configuration. So if you're not a coder, if you're not necessarily a database person, that's okay. You still will have tools that provide a no code, a graphical view to be able to configure the system. It's the flexibility there while still maintaining that integrity to a relational database, which if you're a database person, that's a really big piece, right? Again, unified data. We don't want you to silo your data. We want you to be able to, in meaningful ways, see the data across your continuum of care and not have pockets of siloed data where you cannot see trends, you cannot be able to share information as necessary across departments, across programs, across service delivery models. Streamlining your reporting, absolutely. We want you to see you have better relationships with your clients, and you can empower them if you so choose in taking ownership of their service delivery and making requests, checking in on their case plans, etc. Saving time. Listen, we know at CaseWorthy, because we are human service professionals for human service professionals, that the greatest thing that we can do is give people back time so that they can do what they're passionate about, which is working one-on-one with the amazing individuals for which you serve. So that's our individual goal, right? We know that true work doesn't happen behind a computer screen. It happens in those relationship building activities, those one-on-one communications. And we really want to see your case management tool or your case management system to be a tool in your service provider's toolbox, not just a necessary evil. I'm going to talk to you about how we can get there today as well. All right, so we're going to go back to Psychology 101 from your freshman college course. We're going to talk a little bit about this hierarchy of needs. So this is CaseWorthy's play on Maslow's, right, his hierarchy of need. And here is where we see organizations as they flow through their process of becoming data-driven or data-informed, which we like to say as well. We know that to start out at the very bottom, what you need most is a well-defined model of care and theory of change, right? You need to know where you're going, who your goal target population is, and how you plan on getting there. The next thing you're going to need is the infrastructure to track that, right? You need a product like CaseWorthy to be able to support you in tracking that fidelity of that model, while also supporting your service recipients in meeting that model of care, right? We talk about that. From there, you're going to have processes and defined consistency and agency-wide understanding of data entry. This is critical, right? You need to know what your data actually means based on the process, your logic model, your theory of change. Once you have that shared understanding across your levels of your organization, across that org chart, now you're going to be able to start doing things like, hey, let's seek some additional funding. Maybe we're finding a trend in our client population, and we know that this intervention, or our theory is these interventions would help increase outcomes of our service recipients in X, Y, or Z way. Now you have meat. Now you have data that you can then take to those funders and say, with your dollars, we want to do this, and we expect to see this positive outcome for our community. From then, you're going to see data being reported and talked about at operational, administrative meetings. You're going to see data being talked about at the individual case planning meetings, all the way up to overarching data for the agency as a whole. And that would be being data informed or data driven in your process. Now, to get there, you need a great system. So let's talk about that as well. I am going to pop open our database. Okay, so what I bypassed here is a login screen, right? You put a username, you put a password in, you have access to your database. CaseWorthy is web-based, so you have an internet connection, you have a web browser, be that Google Chrome like I'm using today, Microsoft Edge or Safari. You have access to your CaseWorthy application and your database, right? You can also do this on your mobile devices, right? We are mobile friendly so that your staff members out in the field can access that on an internet capable smartphone, a tablet, whatever the case may be, so that they have data at their fingertips to support moment in time data tracking. Very exciting. All right, now upon logging in, so this is at the time I'm logging in, it was a configurable choice to land on the last client for which I touched. In this case, it's Miss Leanne Huff. So let me start by giving you a bit of a lay of the land, or kind of how we organize the data in our database. So as we're looking here, I am logged into the client dashboard. Now, we're going to talk a lot about dashboards because they are an incredibly powerful tool in CaseWorthy, and they function in a multiple of ways. So this client dashboard is specific to the work that's going on across my organization that I have access to see based on my role for Miss Leanne. So what can I see? Again, all configurable. When we're talking about client dashboards or these login pages, the conversation is, What information does this role need to be able to see and access quickly and easily so that they are best prepared to move forward in the next step in their journey, right, with the CaseWorthy application? So again, highly configurable. So here I can see what programs Leanne is currently active in. I can see some most recent services. Looks like we talked to her a little bit today. We did some assistance or some advocacy work for her. I can also see some documents that have been uploaded to her client record, like her social security card, maybe a utility bill, maybe something she needed to prove eligibility. Whatever those cases may be, you can see that and have access to them right here in the database. I also have the concept of client alerts. Here's the information I need my individual service providers to be able to see, even if they don't know Leanne or haven't contacted her, but maybe she called up or maybe she came to the front desk. Now I have some key information that I know. Now in this example, we're talking about some just pretty basic things, right? Like she's missing some paperwork, or I hear that she does have this allergy to a nut, but a nut allergy. So, next time you meet her, we're not going to be eating a, peanut butter and jelly sandwich. We want to make sure that we're being consistent there. But you could also use this for risk management pieces. Maybe this is an individual that has demonstrated some unsafe behaviors. That is another way we can then manage that, give that key piece so we know what we can do to support the safety of everybody involved. All right. I have a graphical representation of data. Now, in this case, we're looking at finances. We're seeing, hey, over time, we want to see a growth in our income and a decrease in our expenses. Now, that's an easy one to show, right? Because it's a little bit of an outcome for us all, let's be honest. But in this example here, you can also use it for other things. Maybe this is growth towards a measure of self-sufficiency. Maybe this is a measure of hopefulness that you're wanting to see change over time. So you can kind of get a snapshot. What's going on? How have we spent our time in meeting this individual's needs? So now we can move forward. Maybe you're pulling this up as part of your case review process as well, right? So you can kind of see those activities in relation to the growth that this individual is making on the path to your model of care. Okay, I also have menu items, right? So I can navigate to other pieces here. So if I wanted to go right to see her documents that she's uploaded. I can also navigate. So if I needed to really investigate, like, let me see what this income sources are. Look, I can click right here and now I can see that budget from the last time it was taken and I can see more information, right? So I'm being able to leverage my dashboard, clearly information sharing piece, right? That's really what these dashboards are. They are also supportive to your navigation. So I just showed you one way where I could click in and see the data that made up that aggregate amount. I can see the recent services. I can see that information and navigate to maybe my next steps. This could even be a task list on here as well. All right, off to the left, here is her user record. I can see more information, but I want to show you a couple of cool things here too. If I open this up, here I can see that Leanne is identified as a head of household. That's just, you have to pick somebody to be the head of household, however you do that programmatically, up to you. But I also see that her spouse is Sally and her child is Jamie. So I can easily navigate to these individuals that are connected to her across what a functionality we call household. Keep in mind, households, families can be diverse as families and households are in today's world. So you get to define those things. It's really just a connecting grouping of individuals, whether they live in the same location or they have some relational connection. You can do that here in CaseWorthy. But what I really want to talk about right here is this concept of case notes. Now, case notes are what you think if you were in the human services profession. They're narrative information. So this is narrative information that you've put in based on the activity. So it doesn't fit in a drop-down box. It doesn't fit in a check all that apply, but this is our justification for the activity. This is a justification for the service. This is justification for the referral. All of those things. Now I can see them in one nice and easy to see list here. So I know that this is part of a counseling note. This was part of a goal or a progress note towards our goal or a case plan. This is part of a referral, etc. All of these good things right here at the CaseWorthy application. Now, I can go through here and view the individual ones, right, one by one. I could see each of these as you so choose, or I could even go in and click several of them to be able to see. All right, so I'm going to click, 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 click. These are the ones I want to view, and then I can view them or print them as I see fit. Keep in mind your logo would be showing up here as well. All right, so I can see that. Print them off if I need to use them for, court reports, whatever the case may be. Another way you can use this is in the supervision of staff, right? So you can go through, maybe you're a clinical supervisor, maybe you have some interns writing your notes. Well, now I can write an addendum. And this is me as the supervisor being able to document my review of this case. Lots of different ways you can use this. That's just one use case here. Talk to Sarah about this note. We agreed X, Y, or Z things in that conversation, whatever the case may be. Now, keep in mind, too, that all of these case notes you can lock down. So if this is a high-level, trauma-informed clinical note that does not need to be seen by everybody in the organization, you have that control, okay? So you have the ability to lock it down or open it up. You can even lock it down all the way down to the very single case note. So if me, a therapeutic or a substance abuse case manager needs to lock down because we're talking about some very traumatic things, it's just not necessary for the general organization to be able to view or look into, you can lock that down on the individual record. So only I, as the user, could see it, and those identified as my supervisor within the system. So lots of configurability there so that you can share when you should share, lock down when you should not, when it doesn't need to be shared, when it's not helpful to the overall progress, but still important to document. All right. One other thing, well, let's look at a couple different dashboards. I'm going to talk about this family dashboard. This is a cool one, right? So here I'm looking at the family record. So the context, remember, dashboards, contextual view. The context here is the family as a whole. What can I see? Well, that's configurable too. But I can see the family name here. So this is that family record. I can see who the individual members are. I can also have some contacts. Now, these are folks that are not necessarily receiving services by your program. These are folks that are helpful to the case as a whole. Guardian ad litem, school social worker. If you're working in aging services, maybe it's, next of kin, like for them, like their daughter, their neighbor, whoever can help if something is in a need, or who could have access to know that you're receiving services. That's another good way of using your contacts too. So if somebody were to pick up this case, they would have access to helpful individuals along the way. We can also track your address history if you so choose. Another very cool out-of-the-box, ready-to-go tool is being able to calculate AMI. And it's going to be calculating AMI off of your community. And this is baseline, ready to go out of the box. In CaseWorthy is going to take and do all of the fancy math behind the scenes and come back and return with, your percent of poverty, your AMI as well. Nice to have. Determine eligibility based off this. Lots of data that you can get from here, or you can slice and dice data by these measures as well. Here are all of the enrollments of the individuals in this family, right? So I know that Leanne is in, Head Start and has in counseling, where Sally is in a behavioral support and working together with Leanne in that program. And I can see all of those sort of program enrollments across my continuum. Again, nice to have pieces of information. All right, so let's talk a little bit about doing some documentation. So we've got Leanne here. We know she's working our program, and I'm going to go right through my case management tab, and I'm just going to quickly document a service just so you can see what it looks like. Keep in mind, everything is going to be highly configurable. So what your program is providing as far as services, you get to define. So from one of the enrollment I'm interested is looking at is the child and family services. That's what we're working on today. Here are all of the services or the activities that are associated with that program. And so we're going to say we just did some basic case management today. And then I get to define more about that activity. Again, configurable. You can add to this, right? When you define a service in the administrative tools, you define what unit and unit value mean. In this example, units are a 1 to 20 ratio. It could be 1 to 15. You could track dollar amount. You could track amount of things. You could track time in services. All of these things are options. So we're going to say that we did 2 units today. Again, this one's configured to be a dollar amount. So it's tracking $40. If I had an account, I could set that up. Lots of functionality with this as well. I'm going to say everybody was a part of today's interaction. And now I'm going to write my case note. Remember, I showed you where these case notes populate. I showed it to you right over here, that full list. This is where that narrative information comes from. It is a control. It's a button. You can put it wherever you need in the system, whether it's a custom form, whether it's a custom assessment, or as part of a referral, you get to use that same functionality. You just put it right here. All of the data automatically is going to go into that one case note piece. So you can see a full list of the activities going on with this individual and the progress being made. All right, so I'm going to go write my case note. Now with case notes, I have lots of cool things I can do. I can categorize them. Right by type. That's going to allow me to search all those case notes. If I wanted to see one that was specific to just a contact log or referral, whatever the case may be, you can sure do that. I can also create templates. So if you had a specific way that you need your notes to be written, maybe like, this is going to age me a little bit, but like a SOAP note, or if you had more information that you needed to absolutely be in here, you can actually take data from the database, populate this note, allow your staff members to update what needs to be updated, and move forward. So again, another helpful piece, time-saving piece. Not necessarily mind-blowing, but again, it's just those little details that really make this a tool in your toolbox, not a necessary evil. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to actually dictate my note. I can do that because I'm using Google Chrome today. And I'm going to go right here and start my recording. Here is the outcome of today's interaction. Done. I've dictated my note. I talked to you about being able to lock some things down. Hey, here's where I can do that. Again, you can take this option away as well. But I'm going to say I want this to be shared, or I want it to be my eyes only. For organizations that are on the call that happen nationwide or have multiple locations, you can also say I just want it to be seen by like my location or my agency in the bigger national organization. All of those things are options here as well. I can associate this to the program if I so choose. I can make it read only and not allow anybody to edit. I can also add my signature. Now, if I was providing this information to Leanne, she could also sign it as well. I'm going to use my mouse. If I had a fancy touchscreen device, I could sure use my finger as well. All right. Cool. Now I'm going to save, and I have just completed my documentation of my activity today. A couple other things I would like to show you is, let's go right for my case management. What did I do with that? Hold on. Oh, I know what I wanted to go. So let's go and I'm going to look at her program enrollments. Now, why do I want to look at program enrollments? Couple of reasons. The big one is I wanting to be able to show you the enrollment dashboard. And this is going to be specific to the single enrollment. And I'm going to go back to my children and family services. This is a demo environment. She's got a lot going on. But, and I'm going to go right into my enrollment dashboard. Why is this cool? Well, I can see a lot of really great information and just about this enrollment. I can see how much services we have provided. Again, this is all ready to go out of the box. I can create my service plan. You can do service plans where you have kind of a menu of different goals that are all those goals are associated with your target population, your model of care, your interventions that you put forth. Or you can, and that will allow you to still individualize them, right? So you can have that menu of goals and goal steps so that you can support your staff and not having to recreate the wheel. I mean, that's one of the biggest difficulties is really creating that measurable goal. So we can help you do that. Or you can even have them prompted or suggested based off of data in the system. So if you had an assessment or an acuity score that you're gonna say, hey, with this score on this domain, you most likely need X, Y, or Z goals associated to be working towards. All of those things can be possible. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about tool in the toolbox, not just a necessary evil. That is what I talk about when I was showing that graph to greatness, right? That graph to data informed is having a tool that can help you with your fidelity to your model of care. These are the little tricks and trades that you can do to support staff to do that. All right. What can I do from here? Well, of course, I can view case notes. I can see some other authorizations, but really just kind of wanted to show you. I can see how many days are enrolled. What other things would you want to see? Let us know, right? We can, or you can, independent of us, add to this dashboard as well. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the enrollment page here because I want to show you a quick assessment. So in CaseWorthy, you know, that same concept that is so familiar in case management tools, you're going to assess the need, you're going to establish goals, and you're going to assess progress, right? Assess the need, establish goals, assign progress. Well, let's do that assign progress, right? And I'm going to do that through an assessment. And I'm going to do that from my Children and Family Services program. And I'm going to click right here. And I'm going to go ahead and do a new program assessment. It is time. Maybe my program model or my theory of change says that we're going to remeasure this every 30 days. Fine. And I can get some prompts to do that. I can take the information. Here's another nice to have feature. So if you have programs that use similar assessments, but you need that assessment for that program at this point in time, you can actually push data from the previously entered assessment into today's assessment. Again, tool in your toolbox. All right, so I'm going to say just no to this right now just because I want to do something a little bit different, but it could definitely do that. So what am I going to do here? This is an outcome assessment. You define these measures, or we also have the ability to use the ones we've already created. This is like a Likert scale measure, right? So I can see change in these domains: self-sufficiency, hopefulness, in this case, the caregiving environment. In this example, you can see here, this is actually a workflow, another functionality with lots of cool stuff. But this is workflow. I know I'm on Leanne's record, and I know that she's the head of household, that she's the primary caregiver, and that Sally is her child, right? So in this example, for her, for this program services, where the caregiving environment is what is her responsibility. And now I can go here and I can make some determinations. So each one of these options have weights associated with them. It's a Likert scale, right? So I can say, you know, here we are today, and then I can go right here and be able to then see that change over time. So that I can say at the end of the grant period, at the end of my quarter, I say anybody who has been enrolled in this program that has more than one assessment completed, 95% of them have demonstrated an increase in the availability of resources. They can see an increase in their community engagement. They can see an increase in their access to care. They can see an increase in their ability to manage their anger. Or you could even do, you know, smoking sensations, right? I don't know, whatever the case may be. But you can also see that growth over time while still then leveraging this information in meaningful ways. It's not just about the overarching grant. Now I can make sure that I'm using this information. Do we have the correct case plan goals for this individual? Do we have the correct services and service intervals that we think that we need in our theory of change in our program model to meet this exact needs? Now, this is going to also give me a sum. Again, it's a choice. So if I wanted to get an overall acuity score, that's a really good one too. Whatever that matrix is, we can support you. Or you can use what we have out of the box too. So both options that we can support you with as well. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save, and it's going to allow me to go to my next person to measure my outcome. Again, I can see this is Sally, right? I haven't clicked around. I haven't had to go to her different case. I am pulling both options into the same workflow to reassess. Now, in her example, Sally, she's not the caregiver. So I'm going to go right here to see her developmental stages, because that's what's important for individual youth that are associated with this program. And so here's the different domains I have for her. Again, same concept. I'm not going to overbeat the wheel here, but remember that your program model is all going to be able to be in here. So if this naming convention doesn't work for you, it doesn't meaningful, maybe it doesn't feel culturally sensitive for you. Absolutely. We are 100% encouraging you to be that trauma informed. How am I being trauma informed as a database? Yeah, you can. Absolutely. How do I do that? It's how I'm prompting, how I'm seeing my staff are seeing data over and over, and how we are owning the vocabulary or the semantics at our organization. Again, bigger picture, right? Coming data informed. Our database is following our model of care, our logic, our theory of change, all of those good things. All right. Now I've just reassessed. I'm done. And I can go right on back to Leanne's case record here and move on with my day. I also have a concept of favorites. These are just navigation pieces. So I know that these are maybe commonly folks that I work with. Maybe this is my caseload. You get to define this as the user. Let's also talk about what a user gets in the system that is helpful. And that's the concept of this My CaseWorthy tab. Now, this is specific to me, the user in the system, right? So these are the things that are related to my user record. So I can do things like check my calendar. I can monitor or change my password. I can create that stored signature. Or I can see who are my cases on my caseload. I can see what teams I'm associated with and the multitude of different ways that teams are leveraged in supporting the overall view in the case. If I go over here, I can see even more information. For instance, I can see what follow-ups I might have. I can see what recent services I provided, or maybe I have a referral internal. So maybe you have a process because you know that you're expert in getting through the red tape of X, Y, or Z thing. This is the expert in-house. And this is an individual that needs to be seen by that person to help them navigate the red tape of life, right? That is something you could use that for one example. So, oh, okay, it looks like so-and-so, referred Aurora to me. I can kind of see this. I go right in, all right, what was the major note here that, oh, okay, she needs help with, application for WIC. Great. I'm your gal for that. And now I can go navigate to her record, give her a call, set an appointment, whatever that next step might be to support her to get, that needed thing taken care of. All right. I'm going to see, we doing good on questions? Not super used to. All right, it looks like we're good. All right, don't hesitate if you have a question. Oh, no, I do have a question. All right, Sharon, hi, asks, can you staff daily program attendance and unit rates for billing? Yeah, there's several different ways of doing that. That's a really great question. So one of the ways that we do that right now is for housing, where you can it'll take an attendance record every day based on the placement that you have in our housing feature. But you can also do that with your attendance to different organizations, and that unit and unit rate for billing can definitely be something we can handle. Just depends on kind of the details of your need there. Also, what about incident reports? Shannon, that's a great question. I will show you some incident reporting too. We actually have out-of-the-box tools for that. Incident reporting is a huge piece, especially for quality insurance, some risk management pieces. We'll show you that here in a bit. And then Tatiana, hi friend. Can this platform integrate payment for services? Client paying for counseling or home care or workshops, for example. Absolutely. Currently, we work and have a integration with PayFabric, but we would love to hear more about your need if you had a specific need. We will not store client credit cards in our application. That's why PayFabric is the source for that. But again, devil's in the details on that one. We would just love to hear more about what your need is and for us to help you find the best approach. Brian asks, can this be used to track referrals to outside agencies? Oh my gosh, Brian, that's a great question. Not only can you do that, but it's going to support you in understanding maybe an appropriate referral. I'm going to do this real quick for you. When you have CaseWorthy, you are going to be able to create an entire referral directory. This is going to be really helpful so that you can understand what might be the best referral for this individual. Really, what a referring directory is a list of organizations that have records in your system. Those records just happen to be identified as providers. All right. Now I can go in and I can search. Now in this example, I'm going to search by the actual service I need. I always use mental health. So maybe this is a psychiatric treatment, whatever the case may be, I can see that. And now not only am I able to see what referral providers I have available or in my database, but I also can see what their distance is in miles to that client's current location or where their address is on their demographics page, so I can pick the best option moving forward. You can also do lots of things where you're defining sort of what that referral outcome is. You can write your case notes. You can even email. You can email from the system. In this example, we're going to email the referral to that referring provider. Of course, you'd have to have the right permissions to do so, but you could sure do that as well. All right, that was a quick overview. Good question, Brian. That is a big piece of our application. We must use some state databases. Oh, Brian, you and the whole world. I get it. Can this communicate or share information between CaseWorthy and our state system? Listen, Brian, there is a lot of details there for me to commit to that. One of the biggest questions that your sales rep will be asking you is if your state database will be willing to ingest data. And that's going to be going to help us define what the approach is. Can we do that? Absolutely. We are more than happy and do want to work with state databases to be able to push. Sometimes those state databases are antiquated and don't have the option. Then we can talk more about an automated process, a manual process, all of those good things. So that is absolutely something that we can discuss. Now, if you have like a HMIS or HUD system that you need a CSV export for, we have that out of the box. So that absolutely is something that we can do. One example is a loaner laptop program for clients. Very cool. Can something like this be tracked through CaseWorthy? How customizable is the database? Right, everything you've seen here today is customizable. We do have out-of-the-box functionality for exactly what you're talking about, this loaner laptop program. Basically, what you do is you create a record in the system. It's called an inventory record for each one of, and I mean, we can talk about this, offline, Brian, or in another meeting, and we'll show it to you. But you can use that. You have, maybe it's a barcode or some sort of, identifying information for that laptop. You associate that laptop to the client record, and when that gets returned, you associate that it is returned and back into your inventory. So that is absolutely something you can do. We have it out of the box. Another big, fancy, most used reason for this functionality, this inventory functionality, is gift cards, right? Gift cards is currency. Let's not joke, right? And so you can really create this full list of and see where each individual gift card has been distributed to, who got that and how much, and the reason for that gift card. So all of that out of the box, ready to go. Good questions. My goodness, you guys have good questions. Okay, I am not going to leave you without talking about reporting really quick. So I'm going to go right to my reports. And listen, we have standard out of the box reports. These are things that are all related to the functionality I showed you. Program enrollment, referrals, services. Let's look at a service one. Now, this one, the first thing I'm going to do is CaseWorthy's going to ask me, all right, Sarah, give me some parameters. That's what these are called, or filters that you want to look for. I have this already saved just because it makes my life 100 times easier in these demonstrations. But I'm just going to go and say, for this date, I want to see this program. Now, I could define other things, like especially if you're a national organization, you need to do it by location, you need to do it by provider, you need to do it by org. Fine, you can do that as well. You want to look for a specific service, let's do that too. But we're going to go ahead and hit report. Now, cool thing here, I can also schedule this report. So let's say Brian is a leader of this organization. He wants to look at this services report at the beginning of the month for the previous month. He could schedule it. It'll shoot him a quick email. Brian will know to log into the system. His report's ready to go. Doesn't have to mess with these filters again, which is nice too. Just again, nice to have tool in your toolbox. Open this up. What am I looking at here? Well, for my basic needs programs, here are all of the services that are associated to that program, the number of entries, the units provided, and the number of individuals served. So entries, number of interactions. Clients just can't count for individual human receiving that service. So I can see things like let's go to the next page. Hold on, I'll give you a better example. All right, keep going here. All right, so here's my behavioral health services program. I can see that I have, 5 different unique intakes for 2 individual clients. All that indicates to me is that this service was provided more than once in a single for a single individual, which makes sense. I can even have drill downs, right? So I can pull this information and see who makes up that aggregate data. You can see that right here as well. It's also going to calculate at time of service their age. So the report itself is going to be doing that calculation off of the date of service and the age, not today's date, which is nice as well. I can export all of these reports. You know, we're in Microsoft Shop, so we're going to be able to do that quite easily into Microsoft Product, Excel, PowerPoint, PDF, whatever makes most sense to your needs. All right, so that's the operational reports. Got a ton of those. You know, just depends on your need. But my favorite report to demo is our analytics. Now, if you're like me, have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with Excel pivot tables, this might speak to you. So I'm going to go right to my enrollment table here. And I am going to see, now this is in relation to all program enrollments. That's the focus of this one. All this is a query on the back end with a front end view that helps and allows those most positioned to support change, which isn't that higher level folks. It's those middle managers, those program managers, the direct line staff that can view, self-reflect, and leverage data. So let's show you an example of this. So I'm going to have this general demo sort of view already saved. The reason I showed you that view saved is that you don't have to recreate the wheel every time. You can save a view, come back and look at it, update the dates, whatever the case may be. So what am I looking at here? Well, this looks a lot like that pivot table if you're in an Excel. Here are all the data elements I get to play with. Again, you can customize these. You can add your custom demographics. You can add, create your own queries based off assessment data, whatever the case may be. Right now, I'm going to see by program the average number of days enrolled, and I'm going to compare that to the percentage of clients within that program. All right, so that's a calculation I'm doing. I'm going to hit apply. Now, I'm going to go back to my grid because I want to see this, right? So I can see each of these different programs that I have and I'm working with. Now, I want to drill in a little bit more specifically. So I'm going to take the most populous because, you know, I just kind of want to see how things are going. So I'm going to say I just want to see individuals who identify as male and those who identify as female. And I can hit apply. All right, here's my grid. Now, you know, this is a lot of raw data. I like visualizations. They help me. So I'm going to go back to my bar line chart. Now, what am I looking at here? So I can see a pretty even distribution, except for my domestic violence program, which is somewhat expected between males and females. And if I scroll over this, I can see that this column, the red, is going to be males within this place of change program. And I'm going to be able to compare that to women, right? So that it's pretty even distribution relatively through our programming here. Now I'm comparing that to the length of time on average that individuals are staying into my program. And I see this huge outlier here. For some reason, this outreach program, even though we had pretty even distribution, relatively so, of men and women, there is a massive growth difference, almost over 100 days, between the average length of time for individuals to consider completion of that program. Maybe this is an issue of childcare. Maybe we need to put some more interventions in place to ease and support the young families or the young mothers in our program to be able to reach successful completion of the program more specifically, or get them there quicker. I don't know. The idea here is this is a vehicle for conversation. It is a way that your staff can self-reflect, and it gives them some opportunities to have meaningful conversations related to not just our sort of feelings, but what are some real data situations that can back up those, you know, what we kind of think about what's going on. All right. That's my analytic report. There's so much more. If you're a compliance person, you have VOCA reporting. We have HMIS, a CSVG, all of those kind of compliance pieces to some federal funding streams. We got you. And again, your licensing with CaseWorthy value add there is if any of the federal government were to change the requirements for those funding streams, we would take ownership of making sure you were in compliance before that change takes place. Okay, let's see what other questions we have here. Mark, hi Mark. If you have time for a question, many services we offer clients is senior services. Yeah, great, Mark. Are you might be a serve tracker position here, but volunteer services. The program basically has a pool of volunteers, great, that perform tasks for clients, and we need to track volunteers and their skills and need to match those clients to those skills, and then track the volunteer services that were performed. All right, so Mark has a program that is highly driven by volunteers, and he wants to be able to match those volunteers with service recipients' needs. Now, not part of today's demonstration, but absolutely something we can do is that exact task. So you can create a volunteer record. This is another entity type in the system. Entity is a noun. It's a person, it's a place, it's a thing that needs a record. Volunteers are another type. Same documentation, Mark, that I have shown you today, you can do on that volunteer record. You can then match them with the skills and credentials. You can follow the path of getting them, to being a volunteer. So I'm assuming since you're having direct client interaction, you have things like background checks you need to track. I'm assuming there's some sort of training you need to track for your volunteers. All of those things can absolutely be tracked, and we do have baseline features, baseline ready to go out of the box to support you in doing that. Great question, Mark. All right. Talk to your sales rep, Mark. They're going to be able to give you a heck of a lot more information and be able to give you more of a customized demonstration to those exact needs. But do know, same sort of concepts are going to apply on those entity record types like volunteers or even donors if you so choose. Okay, 10 minutes. Guys, this has been great. I do really hope, looks, I've got one more question. This is a great one. All right. Thank you so much, Melissa. That's just great. So Melissa is asking about AI, artificial intelligence. My goodness, isn't that a fun question in today's world? Now, CaseWorthy does have a very targeted plan for introducing AI in our system. Now, we, being human service professionals, also have some limitations that we want to talk about that. So we're taking a very concentrated view into how we can leverage AI in meaningful ways. AI gets thrown around a lot. All of us on this call probably hear it. Maybe some of us have used it. But if you are interested in moving more towards leveraging AI or have a hankering to kind of see how that's going to play out for the nonprofit space, CaseWorthy is the answer for you. Why is that? Well, with CaseWorthy, you are going to have access to our development teams. We take a very, very targeted support from our customer base and understanding it. Yes, I'm not the only social worker in-house, but we know the best people to define the needs of the industry are those doing the work. So if you are interested in sort of supporting how softwares are getting developed in meaningful and ethical ways for service delivery, I think there's some really cool things going on. We're talking about things like going in and reading case notes so that we can pull out trends through those case notes of those activities. Those are kind of the conversations going on internally. There is so much cool stuff. We're on the cutting edge of exciting things here at CaseWorthy. We hope that you are wanting to join us as well. All right, Shannon asks, can we see an incident report? Yeah, let's show you incident. I'm gonna have to change roles because it's not menued up as those of us in the know would say. So I'm gonna go right back to my shelter services. Great question, Melissa, about AI. Thank you so much. Hold on, I'm trying to talk and walk at the same time. Please forgive me. All right, so what are you looking at here? This is a custom dashboard. This is going to be a dashboard that you are going to see if maybe you are a middle manager, high level. You've got oversight over programs and services. What are those key quality indicators? In this example, we are looking at incident reporting. So I'm going to go right in here because do I have it listed here? Oh, here we go. Incident reporting dashboard. So here I have my entire incident report. I even have an analytic. I just showed you with that analytic. It's at Excel. So you can explore that data. Now, your incident reports can be as custom to you as you so fit. But in our baseline report, we are going to, got a little click happy there. 1 second. All right. You can you leverage this. You can create your own as well. But in this example, we start with the incident. Then we define who the players are. And then we define the resolution. That's how our workflow goes. Now, again, if these drop-down boxes don't work for you, if you want to add something, let's do that. Not a problem. But here, again, I'm just, defining things like status and severity, whatever the case may be. You can see what location is. And so this is actually going to be a specific location in your, organization if you so choose. What was the type of incident? Again, you can define these on how an operation define them, use these, add to them, whatever the case may be. We'll say we spent, 35 minutes dealing with this. Again, all of this information is, here's the, right? If I did things like, were photos taken? Maybe if somebody fell, there was a bruise, you could say yes. It's going to then ask you to, upload that photo right here in the system as well. Whatever makes sense. And then I can add my signature to it. And then I save and I go to my next step, which is going to be what participants were involved and what staff were involved. And here I'm going to say, especially if you're in a residential, my direct practice experience was all adolescent residential facilities. So, there's a lot of fights, as you might imagine. So you can just we'll find Leanne here. And then I know that she's a client. All right, here's Leanne. So she was involved in this. And then, she was the aggressor. She fell. There was a bruise, whatever the case may be. I'm going to add another individual. This is a staff member that supported her through this incident or however, the millions of things that can happen. I'm going to say it was me, and that was going to be a user. Your users obviously are staff members. And then, of course, I didn't find it. I never know what name I'm using in which database. I'll just do it this way and see what we can find. Oh, here we go. Well, all right. We'll say that Kristen Adler was part of it. She's a good friend of CaseWorthy. We'll say that she was the first staff responder. All of these things you can go through. If the staff member was injured, what are we doing about that? How have we, provided medical attention? You get to define all of that. And then, participation type is a required field. I did not put that. We'll say that this was the aggressor or the victim, whatever the case may be, however you define that. And the next step, if at this time, was there any resolutions? At this time, nothing was happened, or we needed to go and it needs to go through a whole evaluation process, depending on the severity of need. And then if you needed a review, you can have this review team as well that you can assign to this. All right, so now this is my workflow. It's saying that, hey, you've got all these completed and done. If it needed to go through an approval process, you do have that ability here as well within the system. Yeah, hopefully Shannon, that helped you. That was a good one. Could CaseWorthy have a webinar about employment services? Hey, anonymous attendee, we sure do appreciate that question. I guarantee you that we will have more and more of these type of webinars with a focus on workforce as well, or employment. If you want to remain anonymous, I understand that. If you would like us to make sure that we get you that information, shoot me an email. I will make sure that your sales rep or whoever will make sure that you get on the list to be invited to that webinar. How would multiple different organizations working together look like? Ooh, I love this question. Each organization, if you have to drop off, I understand. I'm going to keep answering questions as they come. So if you do need to drop off, thank you so much. I appreciate your time and energy. We are very much looking forward to chatting with you more. Your sales rep will be reaching out. All right. So this anonymous attendee said, okay, what does working together look like? Each organizations have their specializations and refer to each other for the person needs and interests. Okay. So what you're talking about here, really at its very basic level, is a data model. Now, a data model is sort of how the data flows through the database. And there's lots of options. Now, I talked to you a little bit about this at the beginning. I'm going to open this up. This is my user record over here. It's my user corner. And if I pop this open, you can see that I am at this organization. I'm logged in as this provider, and I have this role. Now, this breakdown is like an org chart. So you have like a main organization and all your data flows up to it, or it silos it, or you can even share data this way, right, with organizations, if you were thinking of it like, what is that, an organizational chart? And you have data sharing agreements. So you define as the overarching, community, what data can be shared, what isn't shared, what could be shared. You can even not share a single program. So we have a lot of multi-service organizations that they're just one organization, but they have like a domestic violence program, and that information needs to be locked down. It doesn't matter. We're not gonna have it. It's gonna be locked down. So then they have another organization just for that program, staff members that have access to that program, then mostly log in on that organization, and you can really lock down information or share if you so choose. Good questions. Happy to talk with you more with your staff, with your sales rep too, to help define your needs. Jacqueline, after documented incident report, is there an option to email outside sources after completion? You bet, Jacqueline. That would be a customization or a configuration to the system. You can add an email template. So then you would define in that email, like there was that little control or a box, you click on that, and it's going to allow you to define to email, X, Y, or Z source, basic information about the incident report. All right, excellent. Thanks, Shannon. Tatiana, a fee structure for your services. Listen, Tatiana, we will be transparent about pricing. That is something, a conversation I'm going to put right back to your sales rep. They will be reaching out to you. We do base our pricing off of active named users in the system. And then from there, our implementation is really where we start digging into what you need, so that we are very clear and you are very clear about what you expect to be getting at time of implementation. We very much value implementation services, and we very much believe in quality implementation, and we want to get you to value quickly. But we also want to do that in smart ways. So we're going to work really hand in hand with you in developing a full pricing proposal to support you with your needs. Also, one of the things that we talked a little bit about billing, I do want to talk to you about billing as far as insurance reimbursable services. So if you are looking to move or already have like a clearinghouse and you need to push data there to get approvals, all that good stuff, we do have a product called Claim Exchange. Very, very excited about it. So that is another piece to it. We also have an invoicing process for those services that are non-insurance reimbursable that you can support there. Maybe you're foster families and you need to be able to reimburse them for their care of children in their home. We've got you covered there as well. All right. Whew. I could talk all day about this stuff, guys and gals. I am so excited. Again, I'm going to hang on the line. It looks like questions are slowing down. Hopefully I got everyone. If I didn't get that, please, your sales rep will reach out. You can request a demo or more information from our website. If you are a current customer, we appreciate your patronage. We would love to talk to you more about, expanding our footprint in your organization, especially for anybody who is adding aging services or who's using the Serve Tracker product and wanting to move over to adding some more in-depth case management tools. Lots of good things going on. So very much appreciate everybody's time. And thank you for all you do for your community.